Hello people, and welcome back to part 32 of Ilos, our modded Cities Skylines build. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks so much for all support last week when we worked on the ore refinery. Probably by far and away actually my favourite industry build we've done on the channel, even better than some of the famous and fan favourite ore mines that we put together. Just the modded refinery aspect came off really well, and it sits in really nicely at this continually industrialized area of the northeast of the downtown. So really happy with it, going along super nicely. And ASUS sprawl is really beginning to develop now. The city is huge, like 82,000 people. It's big and old. However, in today's episode, we are heading back to the south of the Mar grid to continue expanding the edges of the Mar grid and rounding out this very huge sort of sprawl pattern that makes up a good chunk of Ilos. And we're going to be working with an enormous medical center today. Again, taking inspiration from Google Earth, which we'll hop over to in a second. But we're going to be using a lot of uniques, a lot of Rico to basically change how those uniques function, because we can't afford to pay for them again, because we will be copying them using Move It. But a really big space to fill and some really cool inspiration to take from Google Earth in terms of layouts, how this sits against the road, and how this enormous sort of medical facility just rises out of the very flat Phoenix suburb. That's enough talking about it. Let's head over to Google Earth and take a look at what we're working with today, shall we? And welcome back to Google Earth, everyone. So the inspiration we're looking at today is going to be the St. Joseph's Hospital Medical Center. If we take a look at this again, cut up in the grand scheme of Phoenix, we are north of the downtown, over here. And it just rises out of the endless sort of Phoenix suburbia that sprawls around at this part of the city. It just, boom, pops up, almost like a mini skyline within itself. And very much part of the sort of main street pops of heights that we began to work with recently in Ilos. Indeed, we can see the same shapes we took inspiration from last time out at this point on Main Street. So I'm envisioning a whole bunch of the campus uniques fused together today. We're going to do some really nice angles, some new car park designs, lots of fun entrances with, again, car parks and roundabouts and stuff. Some really nice things to do around here, a couple of little palm gardens. And then again, obviously more supplementary car parking, multi-story. Plenty of skywalks as well to respect today, which we can certainly bring in some of these vibes too. And then again, it's kind of rounded off with some more, again, generic Phoenix suburbia, which is just everywhere, isn't it? Really cool. So this is what we're working with today. All right, we have some very large medical complex vibes to bring into the Mar grid frames, alongside some new car parking, skywalks, and all fused into Main Street. To allow the continued, hopeful, believable expansion of Ilos. So that's today's project. Let's build the Mar grid medical center, shall we? Okay, so before we start fusing this facility together, I'm going to make some changes to the canal network here, alright? Because we're going to have to do a little bit of changing around just to get this to fit the way that we want. So all this will break now, and then we're basically just going to feed it down this side of the road instead. Which is going to actually save us a couple of little sections of bridges. These don't need to be bridges now, so we can force these down. So we'll get this one as well. So let's go for the road guideline step. Okay, and then what we'll do here is just force this into elevation. You will also force into elevation here as well. Yeah, that's going to be good. And then this should just allow us now to bring those canals under as and where we want them to. But of course, remembering how to use our canal networks, we also want to do the 48-meter bridge section as we come under these two bits. Something like this should be okay, and then we'll move back to standard, and this should be what we want. So we'll definitely tidy up all the decals here. Of course, these are going to want reworking, and a little bit more decoration needed now, but that's just going to allow our canal network to flow in a slightly different direction now. Indeed, gives us some really quite cool detailing opportunities around the road network here as well. So I'm happy with sort of the future infrastructure plans to shift and amend. And of course, if we want to just drag the nodage together, we can hold Alt and then just bring the sort of lip up so it doesn't clip like that. All right, cool. So that should be fine for this. So now what I'd like to do is go ahead and use Move It to select a bunch of my university assets, like the School of Engineering, the School of Tourism and Travel. I'm also going to grab the R&D Research Center from the Governor's Office, just copy and paste it with Move It. And then also the School of Economics from the Liberal Arts, and then the School of Tourism and Travel over here as well. So I'm going to just copy and paste them all over, and then we'll drop them over where we're building today, and then we can have a little discussion about what's going to happen with these. Okay guys, so this is what I'm going to be using to construct my sort of major suburban medical complex that I've seen in Google Earth. Essentially all of the campus uniques. So of course we can copy and paste them, and they will want a campus area dragging out, such as their little warning sign to say, I need an area. However, you remember during our Exit and Karina Memorial Hospital complex that we just recoded the School of Medicine into a residential building. And yes, you lose the buff that it provides, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to reco the police academy, for example. I'm going to add a local save onto this. I'm going to tell the game to read this as residential. It's going to hold, it's going to be high density residential as well. And it will hold, let's say, 30 people, for example. Okay, I'm going to save and apply changes. The police academy now becomes a high density residential building and functions like one as well. It will want road connections and services and whatnot. But this does, however, mean that we lose the buff that the police academy provides, which is, I believe, from our tier list, which is linked down below and in the top right of the video today. 5% increase to police efficiency. I really couldn't care less about that. That's such a small, pointless increase that I'm really not worried about losing the the functionality of the police academy like that. So I'm fine with it. Let's start piecing together this complex. So I'm a huge lover of the School of Engineering. Again, we'll recode these so they're not complaining. So I see, have we already recoded this one? I think we have, haven't we? Yes, we have already done the School of Engineering. Yes, this is already residential. So that's fine. So I'm just going to spin this around, right? Now I have, again, a very distinct idea in mind of what I want this thing to look like. So I'm going to grab the School of Economics, which is a liberal arts one. So I'd like this to be sat here. And then what I'd almost like to do is fuse in the School of Engineering behind it, just so we have a little bit of sort of the building inside the School of Economics. And that works really nice. Okay, those two buildings fuse together perfectly and add in a really kind of large, impressive, some kind of incredible institute, right? So I'm happy with that. Let's go with that one for right now. I'm going to grab another one. I'd also like to use which one's this one? Is it the School of Tourism and Travel? Environmental Studies, this one, okay. So this is one of the tech school campuses. So I'd like to, again, spin this one around, respecting the internal crawling heights within the building, the higher end up towards this building over here. And then again, I'd just like to do something really similar, just by fusing in a side of the asset into one. Something like this should be okay. Get a little bit of control while we use and move it. It's going to give us much more precise measurements. Okay, again, that's going to give us one of the skywalks now, isn't it? That generates what we've seen in Phoenix. And just look at that. Like, what a massively impressive facility already, right? With 3 of the campus units fused together. For me, I feel like this is what Cities Skylines is really missing. Some larger functional assets that aren't unit buildings or observation towers. Something that is big and impressive and has a function, which we can do thanks to Rico and move it now. Amazing. All right, cool. Happy with that configuration for so far. Let's go ahead and grab the police academy now. So there's another skywalk in this one. And again, it looks like we can just... I know also I'm having this one face the opposite way as well, I think. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Okay, and it just looks like there's just the most perfect little opportunity there where we can just merge the buildings together so it looks like they're connected and then as one. And then what a fantastic aesthetic that gives us, right? Just such... Already it's only 4 buildings. And it's like one of the most detailed buildings in the whole city. Yeah, just... Really, really fantastic. Huge lover, everyone. Huge lover of this. Alright, cool. So let's go ahead now and grab the next one, which is the School of Tourism and Travel. This is a university one, isn't it, I think? Just a regular university. Okay. So again, let's look for a fusion opportunity. It looks like we might be able to bring in this building right here. If we can... Go ahead and find it. That looks sensible enough to me. Let's make sure that we're not clipping with any obvious infrastructure on the other buildings as well. Otherwise, that can really sort of murderer vibe. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much happy with this. All the main entrances have been left open as the fusing has happened. So yeah, I'm happy with that, I think. I think we can get on board with it. Okay, or we could even sort of fuse it over to this space here, maybe. I wonder if that might be a little bit better, because that gives us kind of this little courtyard here now, doesn't it? Sort of on the internal of the hospital complex and campus, which again is just a touch of detail, isn't it? A little back door here as well with a bin. Very nice. It's very nice. Cool. Yeah, okay, I think we'll do that. We'll have that one stay there. That's going to be quite nice. And then with the R&D center from the high-tech buildings pack, this one is, I think, isn't it? Kind of works really nice because it has like a research and development sign on it, which I'm reading to be perhaps it's almost like it's a research and development part of the hospital. Maybe there is like a university hospital here too. So we know that on the School of Engineering we have this little cut through here. Okay, there's also one on the Research and Development Center as well. So what I'm thinking we can do is to come right in with some very fine controls. Yeah, that's about right. And then make that sort of corridor through the campus area, or through the hospital complex, one building. Alright. That's going to blend in really nicely as well. Also get a little side entrance here too. So I think this is possibly my most perfect match of assets. All of these ones that we've chosen today just blend together so perfectly to create this larger sort of hospital complex that can now be used as the main bulk of the build. Okay, wonderful. So these are all my main assets. We will of course come in with some actual healthcare stuff, including the Japanese content creator one as well. We'll definitely get this in here alongside probably the gymnasium, maybe community pool, European med center. You know, there's a variety of things we can do to make this a functional medical space in the game. So I want to grab all of the roads with, or all the assets with Move It. And then again, because this is such like a key Main Street build, I would like to have this orientated against Main Street. So let's line that up. I want to make sure that we're absolutely fine here. That looks good to me. And then also this side as well. Looks like we can afford to come down a little bit. Let's do that. And there we go. That seems to be a sensible enough configuration for me, doesn't it? Look how just... Oh, yes. It's so good. Look at the impact that that has, everyone, right? Rico and Move It. What a combo. What a combination. Really good. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch out all these bridge segments again and then let the water from the broken canal dissipate. And then we can start having a chat about the road networks for the hospital as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the road network for this sort of build. Again, referring back to Google Earth for how our sort of roads look. I can see there's actually a little bit of sand in this road, which is actually the green for me, obviously being grass, but we're in the desert. So that's actually going to work really, really perfectly for what I'm after here today. So I'm going to come off with road guideline, and then let's go for, let's come out by 7, okay, and then we're going to do big diagonal road up here. But first what I'd like to do actually is prepare a secondary connection to line up with a road guideline snap, hopefully about here. That should be enough. What we will do is just grab each of those road nodes with Move It, and then just give them a little jiggle so we're in the middle. There is some bob that needs doing here today as well. We can see the street lamps of, and I'm clipping the road from the police academy, but that's fine. We can just bob those away. Yep, that's fine for me. That's going to be nice and happy. Cool. So we can now bring this one up essentially. Let's make sure we come to a road guideline. I want to snap it to that road guideline there. Then can we do, oh, that's very nearly super even. That was that 8? Oh yes, that one's 7, that's 8, is fine. we won't be able to tell in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, so I really want to stick to using these 4-lane sort of median roads today with the yellow markings on them. Okay, so we'll have one there. I think what we can also see as a sensible thing to do now is to actually have this one connect back to Main Street. And then what we will do is just take this one away. And then actually just redraw this so we're not doing more nodes than we need. There we go. And then just trim up a few of those zonings that don't quite make it in. So we can definitely let the road network adjust to those new themes. Okay, cool, wonderful. Let's go ahead and get the back of it hooked in. Again, I'm going to want to carry on using these little US plain roads, so not the plain ones, they're the medium ones. So again, you will come straight through, and then again, there's another little spot of activity here, isn't there, where we can, so we'll just grab all the nodes with, move it, there we go, and then again, we just want to give it a little drag along until we're happy with the positionings. That seems good to me. Yeah, there we go, we've not taken it too far off the axis, nope, everyone's happy. Fantastic. So this will go all the way through probably to the top of the next mark grid frame now, to which we might as well sort of do some measuring here. That's 45 units, that's 53. Ideally, I want it to be 50. Of course, it's not aligned exactly where I need it to be, but that's fine. Move it as a wonderful thing. Yeah, and then bring this one back down, and then we'll probably bring in just a touch of asymmetry here. Again, taking inspiration as to how the markings actually look in Phoenix, perhaps. Just a 5-lane asymmetry will be fine for me here, I think. Yeah, something like that. And then again, there's node controller and intersection marking nuances that can be brought in around this place as well. Might also do a tram turnaround point here as well, because this is now the end of the tram line that comes out of downtown. So we might as well bring the trams up here and let them turn around, and perhaps on the side of the hospital, maybe a little tram sort of complex here, with some pathways leading into these sort of inner courtyards. That might be too tempting to refuse, because that means we can get people walking in and around all these little sort of detailed courtyard spaces that are developed within the hospital campus itself now. Wonderful. So that gives us road interconnectivity for every building that should be now. Everyone's connected. No, of course not. There isn't. There's one more. Which is going to be our friends at the research department. Again, I'm happy with a lot of the yellow markings here, so I'm going to turn off road bending with the road tools. And can we get a connection in here? Let's go for a 45-degree angle. That's not quite in, but we will just move this down ever so slightly, hopefully, without ruining the interior design that we've come up with, which has slightly broken, but you can't tell. And that does register as a road connection. Wonderful. Again, lots of service painter through here. And there's going to be so much cool detail opportunities today as well. We can definitely extend the tileage that comes out of this, the research and development building. That'll be a really nice aesthetic to bring in. So it's paying attention to little sort of nuances like that throughout the build that can be expanded out. Okay. Of course, lots of service painter to give us concrete spaces where we want them. However, where we don't want concrete space is directly out front of this build, because we have a roundabout actually. So let's go for the Vanilla Plus road. I just want the one with the trees on it. There we go. So let's have this. No road guideline either. We'll go for 10 units. That should be okay. And then we'll just grab ourselves a tiny little US road, and it's a really, really small roundabout. We'll probably go for 2. 2 deep. Yeah, a little bit of node controller with no markings. Square everyone off. And then just wide everyone out. A little bit of service painter in the middle. Don't think it's going to be the worst. We could go into the workshop and get another statue, but I don't think it's necessary. We can do a job with the vanilla Igor Ilos, right? That should be okay, and then we'll definitely change in for some California tallies as well. Some of the fan palms in this space. Alright. Cool. Again, there's car parking to be had outside here as well today. What a complex, right? What a really, really cool space. I'm immensely happy with this fusing. Yeah, just so many different layers and intricacies within the window. I really hope we get something like this in Cities too. The ability to piece together these sort of modular kind of facilities and complexes and stuff. Really, really cool. Super happy with them. Cool. All right. Cool. So in Phoenix, the rest of this block is made up of car parking designs and suburbia. So as always, we'll time-lapse up our suburban road network. This is basic bitch stuff at this point in the series. But we will have a look at our car parking designs next. So we're always trying to do new and slightly more interesting things with parking lot roads especially. It would be great to use big parking lots here, but I can't justify the node count. I have to be careful. So one thing we're going to do is bring up a 10 stretch of, what's the size I'm using here? 48? 40, yeah. So 40 meter parking lot. And then I'm going to leave a road guideline snap of 2 points in between each. And then after each time, I'm going to introduce an extra 3 units into the car parking road. Okay, do the same again over here, but this time it'll be no guideline while we're selecting it. It'll be 16 units. And then we'll do one more time at 19 units. And then I essentially want to descend back down now, so we can do again a realization of 16 units. You could also just duplicate these with move it as well, but I prefer to manually draw them in. Yep, so that'll be 16, and then we'll come down to 13, and then finally back to 10. So just because of the sheer amount of car parking that is present in this part of Phoenix in particular, even though it's basically everywhere anyway, I'm thinking this will be quite a nice little cool design. So let's go ahead and get everyone hooked in here, for which we do want a road guideline snap actually for this section. Yeah, there we go, just so we're getting those 90-degree turns into the car parks. Fantastic. Then what I'd like to do is just give a little freeform curve. And then just start connecting all these car parks together, like so, okay? Same again over here too. Just a little freeform curve. And then a straight angle into the car parks, and then connect them all on the bottom at the same time. And I think that's just going to give us a slightly more interesting shape of a car park, I think. I think I might even remove the curve here and just go for a straight, because I think that kind of works a little bit whaley, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. We'll do that instead then. And then this can feed out into this road. It can connect into commercial and the suburbia that will sit over here too. So we should be okay. I think that's quite an interesting pattern, isn't it? You know, and then of course, up to you now as to whether or not you want to use concrete or indeed some of the gravel painters from the Surface Painter mod. Probably, I think again, glancing at Phoenix, it's all very concrete. It's all lots and lots of asphalt. So I'm going to go for concrete here. And then of course there's planters, different little bench designs that can be brought in here. We'll have a little look at some of them together. Right, let's just paint out these sort of central reservations. And then there we go. So I could also bring this ever so slightly closer down to Main Street, which I think might be quite nice, but it gives us a little bit of breathing room, again, either for more surface painter or more detailing. We'll decide during our detailing time, lots of course. Alright, cool. So you could also mirror the measurements on the back side of it as well, which would really sort of flesh out the larger car parking designs that you could generate with this thing. But we'll leave it there for right now. What I would like to do is come in to find it and search for a plant pot. Okay, so we're going to go for 2 of these. We'll make a little palette together. We're also going to search for a bench. I'm going to use the regular vanilla part bench, I think. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to use some of the fancy ones. We're going to go for the liberal arts bench instead. Do like this one. Okay, so we'll have 2 of these next to each other. That's going to be quite good. Why don't we have a little look at some gravel spice, perhaps, right? Maybe a few of these dinky little planters would actually work. Oh, is that going to fit? Yes, please. Very nice. When does that ever happen? Wonderful, wonderful news. I'm not going to box it off on all sides, but I'm going to bring in another little planter here. Again, some smaller adjustments with control and move it will be more than welcome, I think. Something like that. That seems good to me. Then in fact, why don't we just mirror the benches on the back of the planter now? Could have them on the side, but I think this is going to be fairly cute. Alright, and why don't we grab ourselves a shady tree? Probably a live oak, I think it's going to be most appropriate, isn't it? But something like that. Might be a little bit too dominant, actually. Yeah, it kind of murders the detailing, doesn't it? Let's go down to some of our smaller trees instead then. How about one of these little numbers? Yeah, that's a little bit more appropriate, isn't it? Cool. And then we'll just grab props and trees using Move It. And we've now just got this cute little adorable bench and tree garden templates that can sit essentially within a kind of car park design here. Alright. Again, little templates like this can be introduced throughout the facility, little waiting areas, right? Cool. So I think I'm happy with that as a little bit of sort of car park decoration. Okay, so let's account for some suburban road frames, very much like the bad part of town suburb. Let's just get some road networks time-lapsed, and probably some new highway frontage networks implemented as well down this side of the highway, so we can just keep people moving about. So let's detail some road networks, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so a little review of what's happened. Just how important is the complex looking from this angle now? Just so good. So happy with it, really nice. Decorated the roundabouts, of course, lots of surface painter, little bits need tied up here. And then also changed out the flowers, because we're going to put some commercial here in a second. More generic Phoenix style suburban frame. Again, that can just be expanded to match a residential demand as and when it comes in. And then just lots of service painter work and some delicate node controller stuff going on here as well. Just feeding in connections and stretching them out like we've done many times before in Ilos now. And yeah, just tidied up the front, marked off some of the rough concrete edges with some hedges. Gives a little bit of a kind of a forecourt to the main building. And I absolutely love just how good this looks from the main street. Even the fact that the main sort of glass lobby is off center. And there's little staircases up there too. Just all the little layers. This is probably my favourite fusing of assets in the cities, I think. Now, nothing beats this. This is really good. Super mega happy with it. We've also named it the Value Lad Private Medical Centre after one of our wonderful subscribers, indeed fellow content creator Value Lad Gaming. Thanks for all your support, mate. Really appreciate it. And speaking of Value-Add, I want to have a little chat about what's going to happen out the front. So we're actually going to terraform a little valley ourselves. So we're just going to do a little bit of work here with shift terrain and then level out. So I want to fill this whole space with elevation, but we're going to change this in a second. And then I just want to slope this up now. So this whole thing just becomes a slope up to that back layer. There we go. Something like that. That should do us a decent enough job. And then let's go into flowers. Let's come into our small trees. We'll go ahead and grab possibly the red. Right, yep, we're going to bring these down on a really tight prop line tool fill. So we'll do V, goes for Value-Add medical. And I think we might also do just a little white lining on the inside of these. Try and make the colours appropriate for the hospital. I think red and white. Or maybe red and white blood cells perhaps, right? Welcome to biology with egg. So a little VLM, and of course we can decorate this with lights as well. Let's also go for some favourite after dark lights, okay? Again, I think probably white lights are going to be the most appropriate here, aren't they? Let's see what we can do. Let's come on to... So we'll just place the lights at the tips of the letters, just to highlight them a little bit. I think what I'd like to do is also grab some more palms as well. We're going for our taller workshop ones, I think. And then just a little sort of triplet of these along the front. And then definitely with some of the rocks that we're so fond of at this point, right? We all love the little Ilos decorating rocks. Let's go for these ones, I think. And then why don't we just fill this entire space, basically. Let's go for 3. And then we'll place in 3 above it. And then we'll just move it to grab all of these buildings and then paste them together. So it fills the space as we require. And that should just give us a little bit of layer of texture against the back of that elevation where we have the hospital art, I suppose, right out the front on the little sloped and banked so drivers can almost see the logo as they come past it. Really simple but really effective, right? Really huge fan of that. Let's have a look at some railing. So there's this cute railing here, which I think we're going to use on a prop line fence fill as a sort of fence way or indeed railing for the hospital. We'll also throw it at an angle so it's not totally straight against the road. And then this should allow us to come right the way down here. And that should give us a little bit more of an official looking product now, shouldn't it? There we go. How important is that? So cool. So cool. Really turning into one of my favourite builds. I think I'm saying this every week in Ilos though now. Okay. Alright. And there's plenty of service painter, more prop details we had here, benches, waiting areas, perhaps some taxi stands as well. I might also feed a little bus up here as well, because we do have one on the main street, don't we? Yes, here. So let's go ahead and grab the stops out of here now, where it doesn't need to stop anymore. Cool. So we'll have a couple of bus stops nearby here as well. More public transport convergence. There probably is also, actually, now that I'm beginning to remember public transport is the thing. Yes, there is a metro line here we could possibly add a stop onto, but I probably should be careful because Ilos' budget it's 123,000 a week on public transport. It's so expensive. I've actually reduced the airport budget by half because it was nearly 100,000 a week for the Ilos airport for the Sky Harbour to maintain, which is so expensive. So expensive. Yeah, well, we've also added one of these little combo buildings. Shout out to Few Candy for this one. This is the yoga garden, the gym, and the European Medical Centre all together. Really cute combination of assets and fits in nice with our medical theme as well. So huge love of that one. Alright, so returning to these car park spaces, I would like to come in with some plopped commercial if at all possible. And definitely 100% feeling some finaglable shapes here with our favourite university city assets. Okay, so let's place some of them down. A nice mix and match right now. And then of course we can do some grabbing. Of course, aligning little features like this, cafes that are already part of the asset, will work really nicely. We can definitely get some of this brick action fused together as well with the lining in the wall. Yes, please. Perhaps a little bit of vapor vibes. Let's maybe knock these off to the side, because there is actually a side entrance here. And then let's knock them all back a little bit, just so they're slightly recessed from the pavement. They should still be close enough to the road to register their service collections, but we'll find that out together, of course. Perhaps not the best placements of shops next to a hospital. Maybe it is. You know, go and become an alcoholic and then get immediate treatment as soon as you leave, right? That's the American dream. So we can just carry on placing a few of these. Different ice cream parlours as well from the Art Deco pack. Bring this over. Little deli too. Catfish Cafe. And some of our other, perhaps workshop assets would be nice here. I'm tempted to try and stay away from the fast foods, but we can probably get away with something. Maybe things like the Olive Garden. Maybe, you know, if you have loved ones within the hospital complex itself, and you can just come and grab a bite to eat here too. Okay, so there's some really nice, cute, classic strip mall vibes here. Of course, it looks a little bit... The car parks are like, well, there's not much commercial here, but it's obviously, of course, to serve the medical complex as well. You know, a place like this would need enormous amounts of car parking. Wonderful, thank you. We already have our first 2 disabled customers. This is good. To visit the basketball court. All the way over here. Why? Why? Where are you going, Annabelle? Okay. Oh. So Annabelle parked over here to go play basketball in downtown. Right? It's advanced parking AI for you, isn't it? Right? Whatever. Just do what you want. However, guys, that does feel like a good place for a detailed time-lapse. A lot of this space out here, again, is suburban frame that will be zoned in as the demand spikes, which I think is pretty much now. Yes, we only have residential demand, so we might as well start getting this to grow. Yeah, all these spaces here. Again, we're using our classic college assets theme, so lots of our favourite residentials will be growing up. Come in with some detailing all around the concrete spaces in the medical complex. There's a lot to detail here. So lots of our favourite designs, and again, referring back to what's actually in the grounds of the hospital in Phoenix for just inspiration and designs around this part of the map. Lots more of this hospital fencing that we like. The one with the little jagged tops on top. So yeah, definitely get this around to give a little bit more of an official feel to the facility. And again, much more detailing out here. Alongside many more node controller and intersection marking tool refinements, especially on our larger junctions. Again, in Phoenix, there's not that many crazy over-the-top intersections. It's just a lot of simple dashes in the lanes, and then do some traffic manager, dedicated turning lane priority stuff through this space as well. And then do stuff like change the trees on the frontage network. I'm also going to mimic the frontage network on this side as well. Again, it's just more interconnectivity for the suburbia. And then just generally blend in the Valilad Medical Complex Centre into the city a little bit more. Possibly also connect this road up through here. We'll see. We need to have a discussion about what's going to happen with the Lake Havasu build soon. That's getting close, isn't it? Soon. Anyway, soon. Alright, let's detail today's build, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so let's have a little detailing review, shall we? Out the front we've carried on just leaving the little embanked kind of slope art here. Just relatively minimalistic, no major changes to it, apart from just finishing off the rock pattern and of course the rail fencing all the way around. And from whichever angle you look at this thing now, it just comes across as this really authentic, enormous complex, like we saw on Google Earth, right? That huge medical facility that just springs out of the suburb. So super happy with it. Further into the suburb itself, we brought in some more car parking patterns, and again just another variation of our planter, bench and tree designs to fill some space, alongside some general palm overgrowth within the spaces between the car park. And just something to pay notice and respect and attention to now is all the little shapes and sizes that have been developed in the sort of pavement network, if you like, due to the node controller work. And it's all just makes it so much more interesting, doesn't it? So much more interesting to look at. And then of course we have our endless Phoenix suburbia just growing up around this on the arterial frames and all those local roads that we put in too. Further down towards the actual complex itself, we have some service assets, including a post office and a little market asset. This one is, yep, little vanilla market, with again some more vanilla commercial with some park assets again, just to help service and make this suburb function like a suburb, parks, commercial, etc. Everything that it needs. And then of course we have our palm and sand barrier patterning against this part of the highway now, which again was getting further and further away from downtown, and we're seeing these new pops of height developing along Main Street now. So it's all slowly coming together, isn't it? Slowly but surely. In front of the main medical complex itself, we have some hedge gardens complete with a selection of our favourite trees, with some high tiles and some pathways underneath it, so this is functioning as a walkable space, and also dropped in a crossing with node controller just to encourage the use of this space, which hopefully Mrs. Greensuit is going to do it. And she is, yes please. Wonderful, super happy with it. All really nice around here. And then possibly my favourite bit of the build is the walkability in the tunnels. And really cool to see all this coming together and just seeing these spaces become active. And then of course some more planter, fence and tree detailing around the tram interchange, which has really helped create a sense of facility, I think, for this build today. Really just tremendously happy with it. Over on the road, as we come off of the highway single point urban interchange, we introduced again some more node controller work, which has been intersection marked now, which just follows on the yellow lines as it flows in. And again, just that little bit of node controller opens it all up, makes it look like an actual entrance. And then we've just dropped in some thick tropical deserty forest in an oasis style, which actually gives the facility almost like a little bit of privacy, which I think is quite appropriate for what it actually is. And then out the front, we've dropped in some taxi stands with lots of little bushes on the median. The bus also comes through here now as well. We've done some car parking patterns, again with some of our favourite planter designs, and then some basic IMT across the roundabout as we sit in front of the main facility itself. And then along the backs of the commercial strips as well within the suburb, we just have the, again, selective placements of all the detailing assets orientated this way, and just appropriate chain link fencing so it all fits together, and openings as well, so it's like, you know, car parking behind the building, it's not always sort of up and out front. And all just came together really super nicely, super happy with it. And we've also extended this little walkable path pattern which comes out from the bad part of town, which we built a few episodes ago as well. And again, all chain linked fenced in and all functionable sort of walkable space, right? Just like one of my top 10 satisfactions in modded Cities Skylines, this sort of stuff. And then we just emerge out into this huge medical complex, and yeah, possibly my favourite fusing of buildings we've ever done. However guys, that is going to do it for today. Well, let's thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares below really help me out. Even as much if you haven't enjoyed it, then please feel free to leave a dislike as well. I am slowly getting over COVID now, feeling a little bit better each day, but yeah, sorry for kind of the lack of, or the drop in content. Yeah, the second infection really did hit quite hard, but we're slowly recovering, and I hope you enjoyed today's build. Like I've said, there's multiple points in today's video. It has been possibly my favourite fusing of assets. The complex and the facility that we've created here just has such importance to it. It looks like such a proper facility, which I think is something that is lacking in Cities 1, especially without the mods. But a little bit of move it here so we can copy and paste some uniques and look what is possible. That's so cool. love playing with these sorts of ideas. Please do hang around for some cinematics and check out this place at night time. Of course, the mile grid surrounding the downtown just continues to get bigger and bigger every week, and just super enormously happy with Ilos. I'm still absolutely loving this build, and Phoenix is such a fun city to take inspiration from. Otherwise, we'll shut up and we'll leave it there. Let's thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.